So today is the 3rd of November, which is crazy to me to think that we're almost done by this year. And in fact, the next 3 weeks is the only chance you have to be able to get something into contract, right? Unless you're doing a cash transaction, you literally have 3 weeks to get something into escrow that closes before the end of the year. It's just that simple. And so there's a lot of pressure on everybody to be able to make sure that that happens. Yesterday, my own team's meeting, we discussed the limiting mindset belief that people have that there's no transactions happening. And that is clearly not the case, right? If you look at your data, if you look at the
recording in progress,
you'll see that there's a lot. Oh, hold on. Let me, guys. You'll see that there's still a lot of transactions happening, right? Even in our small little market that we serve down in Eastvale, there's $1.2 million in commissions that were paid out in the last 30 days. Okay. And so the big question are there deals happening? It's who's involved in those deals, and are you involved in those deals? And if not, so why? Why is it the case? Why aren't you involved in them? So today we're going to be discussing this thing right here. What does it mean to be all in? Can one of you guys unmute yourself and answer this question for me? What do you think it means to be all in for you? Anybody?
No backup plan, no safety net.
No backup plan. Okay. Yeah. That makes me think of like skydiving. And that terrifies me because I'm afraid of heights, for those that know me. And yeah, you're right. I mean, if you don't have a safety net, if you don't have a plan B in place, then there's no other option, right? And how often do we operate in that space? How often are we treating our business like there's no other option, that this is the only way? In fact, every single time that the market gets a little soft, like it is right now, and there's a transitional period, agents start freaking out, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't sold a house in a month or however long it's been, and no one's buying property. The interest rates are through the roof, like all the excuses. And they use that as a weight to hold them down. And because of that, they start having conversations like, well, shoot, I need to go get another job, right? Who's ever had that thought before? Like, I need another job that pays a salary or an hourly employee or an hourly wage. I mean, think about it. I don't care what you do. There's no way you're going to make as much money as you would if you just doubled down and worked in real estate, right? We have an opportunity to be able to be in an industry that there's no cap in our potential of making money. So what are you doing to be all in? What does it mean to be all in, right? What does it mean to say, I am not going to hold anything back. I'm going to be 100%. I'm not going to have excuses or give to those excuses. I'm just going to put my head down and work. And in fact, in this market that we're in today, I'm not saying it's similar to 2007 and 8, but any type of a shift or down market, when our economy is shrinking, we have to work twice as hard to be able to make the same amount of money that we were making before, right? So let's see here. Okay. Today I'm going to teach you guys the ABCs. Now, I know you guys might think, well, gosh, Nazar, I've heard this a whole bunch of times before. So I'm hearing some background noise here. If you guys are not muted, if you can mute yourself.
What's up, bro?
There you go. Okay. Always be closing is something I'm sure you guys have all heard if you've been in the industry for a while. What does it mean to always be closing? When you think of that, when you think of always be closing, what thoughts come to mind?
Provide more solutions.
Okay, provide more solutions.
Work on the weekends.
Yeah.
Always be working with a clear intention.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like some people make calls just to make contacts, and some people make calls with the intention of setting an appointment.
100%. I've seen so many agents do open houses, and they're there to check the box that they were there, right? They're more concerned about watching the game or watching whatever on scrolling through their social media than they are actually about getting an appointment. And in fact, if I were to ask any one of you, what is the objective of an open house as just one of the lead pillars, right? Is it to sit at a house for 3 hours or 4 hours? Is it to get a lead? Or is it to make a sale, right? Either sell that freaking home or get a listing or a buyer opportunity, right? And if that's your intention going into it, then what are you going to do to lead up to that to be able to make sure that you do that and accomplish that goal instead of just checking the box that you did the open house. And a lot of times, in fact, I see agents that say, oh, well, the open house was crappy. We only had 4 people come through. Well, I'm like, those are 4 buyers that took time out of their day to freaking come to that open house. And you think that it sucked? Like if you closed on one of those individuals, would that not have been worth it for you? And so we're going to get into like, what are the steps? I have 5, surprise, surprise. I have 5 steps on how to always be closing. You guys ready? Okay, let's get into it. If I can, I don't know why my thing's not working. Okay. Number 1, I think this is probably the most important, in my opinion, is to be fanatical about asking deeper questions. Don't get stuck in the surface level. Be curious. Ask the why, how, when, where, who questions, and then go deeper, right? There's so many agents, especially when they're starting out, they'll ask certain questions like, oh, well, where are you looking to move to? Why are you, how soon are you looking to move? And then they answer those questions. They say, oh, we're looking to move in the next 3 months. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they stop it there. What can we do to go deeper in that? Right? If you ask a buyer, hey, when are you looking to move? And they're like, oh, in 3 months. You're like, okay, awesome. Well, let's get the process going. And in fact, sometimes we want to vomit and saying, well, if you want to buy a house in 3 months, then we better start looking now because we can start making offers and yada yada, right? And there's a 30-day escrow. You start getting into that, but you don't know why the hell they want to move in 3 months. What's the reason? Right? What's their objective? Are there conditions that need to be met? Do they have objections? Are they still trying to explore the different areas? Like, there's so much deeper that we can go into every one of our clients. When you go to a listing presentation, right? Are you there concerned about your sales spiel and exactly what you're going to do? Sorry, guys. It's background noise. It makes it challenging here. All right, if you guys are not muted, if you can mute yourself. Oh, there you go. Okay. If you don't go deeper in those conversations, if you're at a listing appointment and you are dealing with a seller and you're more concerned about telling them all the amazing reasons why they should hire you, why you're the best agent for the job of selling their home, you're going to be disappointed because you're not going to be able to make a connection with them. Remember, every person that's going to transact with you, use you as the agent. Sorry, I'm still hearing some background noise. Hi. It's super distracting. You guys, if you're not muted, please mute yourself unless you're saying something that's. Where is it? Is it here? Who's the person that's not? Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, love Zoom sometimes. If you are in a position where you're at the appointment, you're at the listing, they care more about if you care about them and their situation than they do about selling the house. If you are invited to come to their home, then they've already pre-screened you to some level, right? They've already pre-screened you that you are possibly a contender for the job of getting that home listed. Now, all you have to do is to figure out and see if you guys like each other, right? That's all it is. Like, most of my time when I would go to listing presentations, I'd be like, well, look at all these marketing stuff. Look at all the cool things I do. And I found out people didn't give a crap about all that stuff, honestly, because at the end of the day, most sellers think that we are all the same, right? They think that all agents are the same. So all they care about is how much we're going to say their home is worth and what commission are we going to charge, right? Those are in their head, the 2 things that they want to know, honestly. And that's it. But what they don't know is that most people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And obviously they know you because you're at their home. Now, if they like you and trust you, those are the 2 things that you have to figure out. And so spend the time, be curious, ask additional questions to get deeper into knowing exactly what is their trigger, their whys, and make connections with them. Like, look at the walls, look all around their rooms, see the pictures that they have up there, see what's important to them, see if they've got dogs or animals or if their house is like immaculate, right? All those things are telltale signs to you of how you can build rapport with them and connect with them at a deeper level. Going back to those deeper questions that I was talking about. Okay, Step number 2, pay closer attention to body language. Obviously, this is really virtually impossible to do on the phone, but we have technology, right? We have Marco Polo, FaceTime, video text messages that minimizes the miscommunication that normally takes place when you're texting. Like literally on a regular basis, I have to like reiterate or have to explain myself or clarify a text message that was sent. Either I didn't understand what they meant by what they said, or they didn't get what I said, right? So video texts, video phone calls, or ideally in person allows us to be able to, as human beings, to use all of the opportunity that we have to communicate with them. 7% of the things that we say, or our communication skills, or our communication, is by the words we say. I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like 37% or 35% is our tone, right? How we say the things we say. And then 50 some odd percent is all about body language. So when you're there in person, when you're talking to them, pay attention to that. If you're concerned about where you're going to stay next, you've already lost the battle. Like, let me repeat that. If you're concerned about what you're going to say next in your head, if the scripts in your head are not dialed in, and that's what you're worried about, then you're going to miss the body language that they have. You're going to miss the things that they say. You're going to miss the why and the reasons why they're motivated to make that move or not motivated to make that move, right? And don't forget to lean in the conversation. Like, show true, genuine curiosity. Find out, like, what is it? And then mirror match. Who knows how to do that? What does it mean to mirror match a client? To match your energy, and that's great. But what if their energy is low, though? Yeah, right. Initially, mirroring means that you're doing something similar to them, right? If you see them with their hands in their, on their face, you might, on a subconscious or on a conscious level, but to them it's gonna be subconscious, put your hand similar to how they have their hand, right? If they have their arms folded, you might fold your arms initially so that they can see that, oh, this guy's or this girl's like me, right? And then once you do that, and talking about energy, if the energy is low, then what do you need to do? You can start with low energy, because if you're talking fast and they're slow talkers, or if they're like super lethargic or just kind of bummed out, and you come in there, you're gonna freak them out. But if you start slow, say, hey, how's it going? Right? Calm yourself down just a little bit, and then gradually build up that excitement, gradually build up the momentum, and you will see that they will naturally follow you in doing that as well. Okay. So mirror matching clients are super important. This is something that's easy to practice, even as you're role playing, to mirror match individuals, and then to change and take them, pace them to where they need to be. Okay. Step number 3. No. There we go. Okay. I think this is a thing that a lot of agents miss out on, and that is to be able to get your clients to visualize. When I have sellers, and sometimes they'll say, Nazar, I don't understand this. This buyer was at my house for 45 minutes, and I've got my Ring cameras and my other cameras and everything else. And I was listening to what they were saying. Like, what are they doing in my home? Like, why are they there so long? And I said, listen, if they're there in your house for only 5 minutes and they leave, guess what they thought of your home? They thought it was a POS, right? They were not interested in your house. If they're there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, they're sitting on your freaking couch and they're visualizing what it would be like to live in that space. That's half the battle, right? Us as agents, we cannot convince anybody to buy anything. We can't convince them, right? But what we can do is we can lead them and show them and say, here's this opportunity. Do you want it? And so helping clients visualize themselves living that home is super, super critical. Say, hey, where's that furniture piece going to go? And if you've personally been inside their home and they have a piano, be like, hey, where in this space would you use the piano? Or where would you have this? Where would you have the piano in this space? Right? Where would you have your living room furniture? Where would you have your dining room table? Is this dining room table big enough for you to accommodate your gatherings, your Thanksgivings, or whatever it is, your family parties? When they do that, when they spend that time to do that, that's when magic happens. And then you take a step further and say, hey, what color would you paint the walls? Right? What improvements would you do to this property? What would you do to the backyard? What would you do with the bathroom or the kitchen? And when you ask them these questions, they're open-ended questions that allow them to be able to think of how that space could work for them. Now, some people are not visual, right? I know several people that when they walk inside of a home and it's dated, they cannot see past that. They can't see walls being taken down. They can't see popcorn ceilings being removed, or, you know, they can't see any of that stuff. If the backyard looks like garbage, they can't see that backyard. They can't visualize it being beautiful. So you have to help them with that, right? And I think there's different ways that we can do that on a digital level, to be able to help clients kind of visualize that if that's something that they need. But at the end of the day, the key to always be closing in step 3 is making sure that your clients are visualizing their space, and not just in their head, but they're vocalizing it to you. They're telling you, okay? Let's see. Number 4, have them rate the property and compare it to others that they've seen. Now, you know, you can do this just by the overall house, but I like to take it a step further. Ask them to rate the kitchen. Ask them to rate the family room and the backyard and the front of the home and the school and the neighborhood and everything, the community as a whole, their vibe that they get from that house. After every single showing that you go on, when you were there, do not interject your opinions and thoughts about that home. Do not go inside that home and say, oh my gosh, do you see these walls? They're freaking disgusting, right? Or look at that hideous color. I kid you not, how many times I've shown a property before back in the day, and I would walk in the room and be like, holy crap, this place is a complete sty, or just, it's just disgusting. And I'd show my clients, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, right? Like, don't get in the way of a transaction happening by interjecting your voice. You are not the effing buyer. You're not buying the home, right? It's not you. So don't be caught up in that. Ask them their opinion. Ask them to tell you what they think of the property. Ask them to rank it for you. And you can write it down on a piece of paper, right? If you guys have your little sheet that's, you know, that's got the private information, then you give the sheet to them that's got the public info. Write down, like, what do they
no, pues lo del aceite no importa. I mean, pero en el otro lado está mejor.
Oh, qué bueno.
Yo pensé que hierbo.
Yeah, if you can please mute yourself, that'd be awesome. So what are, when you have them rate the house and all the different parts of the house? Hold on, she's clearly not got the message.
¿Qué se tanto?
There we go. Lapita. Okay. I love it. Welcome to 2022, you guys. Okay. When you ask them to rate them or rate the house after every showing, right? You're getting them to rate the house in the inside, like piece by piece, but then at the end, be like, okay, now that you've seen all of these, just like how, you know, I don't know if you guys have watched any gymnastics or whatever perform, you know, at you know, wherever, they'll have different judges, and the different judges will have their own score, and they'll add all those scores and average them, right? It's the same thing. Like, you're getting the average of all the things they like about the house, because there's some things that they're not going to like about it. Some things are going to be a 4 in their you know, mindset of whatever that is, the backyard, call it. But everything else adds up to a 7 or an 8 or a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. And every single time that a buyer feels that the home was overall ranked 7 or more, go for the close. And how do you go for the close? You say, hey, so you've rated this a 7. Would you like to buy this home? Would you like to make an offer on this home? There are so many agents out there that will show property after property after property, 30, 40, 100 homes, and never ask for the business, never close the deal. Do you guys see why that's important to do? Right? Asking that simple question of, hey, how do you rank this house? Or how do you rate this home? And if it is something that's, if they say it's, you know, for them, it's a 5, then you don't even waste your time. Because if you ask somebody, hey, do you want to buy this house? And they ranked it a 5, and you know, they're not looking to buy a flip, or you're not looking to buy a reno, then they're going to think that you're stupid, or that you don't get them, or you're not in sync or rapport with them. If you ask them if they want to buy that home, which they clearly don't like. But if they have a 7 or more, then say, hey, is this a viable option? Because guess what? There's never going to be a 10, right? 10's not an option, because no one's ever going to rank something that's perfect, because it doesn't exist. And so from 7, 8, or 9, if it's any one of those three, you go for the close. Do you want to buy this house? Do you want to make an offer on this home? What are some things that happen when you ask that question? People will say, well, yeah, possibly, but, right? The word but comes in, and then they give their condition or objection. If you never ask them for the sale, you never ask them if they're ready to write an offer on the property, then you'll never know that. And in fact, that objection or condition can be different from every single property, right? They can say, well, gosh, Nazar, I really love this home, but it's on a busy street, or, it's in a T intersection, and, my Asian culture doesn't like that, or my Indian culture doesn't like it. Whatever their reason is, they'll be able to tell you at that moment of time. And guess what happens? You guys, it allows you as the agent to then now make sure that when you're moving forward, if they're like, hey, we don't like any homes that have pools in the backyard, right? We don't want liability. We don't like any homes that are, in a T intersection, or we don't like any homes that are closed, meaning that it's not an open floor plan. Then guess what happens? Like, you stop showing those types of properties to them, and you start only showing properties that are similar to what they're looking for. What do they think about you? They think that you hear them, that you understand them. You guys get me? That happens when you are able to be open and really find out what they're looking for. Okay, let's see how much time I have. Okay, cool. Step number 5, remove any friction. Again, you're not there to convince anybody to do anything, right? You know that. You're just there to guide them navigating through the process of buying a home. Taking out all friction. I want to know what you guys think. I know I've spoken a lot. What do you guys think it means, or how can we remove friction from the buying process or selling process for a homeowner? This is the time you can and speak for a second.
Taking out our own opinion.
Okay, taking out your own opinion. That's good. What else? How else do we remove friction?
Help them with referrals to fix any issues.
Help them what?
Provide them referrals to help fix any issues with the house that may cause friction.
Gotcha. So offer them services, or offer them your contractors, subcontractors, people that can do the renovations that they want. Fantastic. What else?
Maybe lay out a plan to get it done.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean to you?
Like basically saying, okay, if we're interested in this house, or, or we're selling the house, like, here's the things we need to do to make that happen. Like, lay it out for them so they could see it, visualize it moving forward.
You're talking like step by step, Tim? Like
kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm just talking off the top of my head, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
What, doing that over the phone is difficult, but when you're there in person and talking to them, right? And they're like, well, yeah, we kind of just started the process, and you haven't asked them if they've been approved by a lender yet, right? This might be a perfect time to be able to say, hey, let me talk to you about what it means to get approved for a lender or with a lender. And they're like, well, I don't want to do that yet because I don't want my credit run. Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. What does that mean? Why are you concerned about your credit being run? Have you had your credit run recently? How has that gone for you? Has it been a bad experience? Like, going deeper, going to that step number 1, asking those deeper questions allows you to be able to find out what it is. And so you can guide them through, just like you said, Tim, if you can clearly spell out step 1 through step, first to close, what it takes, and help them walk through that process, especially if they're a first-time buyer, or if they haven't bought a house or sold a house in a while. The more knowledge that you can disseminate in a way that is packaged and framed properly is going to allow them as a consumer to look at you and be like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. This girl is smart. This girl is a person that is going to walk me through and help me with this buying or selling or investing process. Okay. Absolutely critical. What else can we do to remove friction?
You completely ask more questions. It's exactly what you just said, Nazar, and you have to listen first. I just basically shut my mouth, let them kind of like see the property and walk the property, because I'm listening for clues. And then I start to strategically just ask those questions. They're going to tell you exactly what you need to know. So many agents love to completely clog all of that communication. And it's the same thing like, oh, like, look at these beautiful hardwood floors. So they're like, we hate hardwood floors. So it's just shut it and just let them view the property. And then you start to ask questions like you're 7. Why do you like the kitchen? Why? Like literally like you're just a little kid, and then just listen. Well, and then it's exactly like you just said, Nazar. Oh, please tell me more about that. He or she who asks the most questions wins in business, period, the end. It's 90% of what you pay a lot of money to these silly, I'm not going to say them, but there's a lot of attorneys out there that's literally all they do. They just ask you a question, you answer it, and then you pay them a ton of money.
Same goes for a therapist. Like, you know, the more questions you ask, the less you talk, the more opportunity you have to be able to convert.
True. I'll add too. If you don't mind. And in this market right now, I think what we need to figure out is let these buyers know that they can get great prices on their houses, along with closing costs and along with everything else. So that will remove a lot of friction. If they're on the fence of like full price or $10,000 under, why not go 25K under or 10K under and then ask for 15K or 10K for closing cost credit to buy down their interest rate? That right there removes all the friction, especially because all these buyers know that they just got sticker shock when they just got pre-qualified. And they're like, holy cow, I got to pay how much? And then now this is the removal of friction, is when you convey that message. We're all real estate professionals. So it's that demand is there to have buyers. If anybody has an open house, if there's a buyer that's coming to you, guess what? They are a buyer that's going to buy in this crazy market at a 7.5% interest rate. You think they want to buy? Yes. Period. So remove that friction of like, hey, maybe we can get you a 7% interest rate or a 6.8. Ask for the closing cost credit, reduce the list price, obviously, by making the offer. And I guarantee you, all of us here on the screen that take listings, I 100% agree that all of us are going to call that other agent back and say, hey, what did your buyer think of that house? Good ones, anyways. Good listing agents would do that, right? I do that. I get a couple offers, and guess what I do? Make the phone call. You bring that offer. Why don't you bring me an offer a little bit under? Guess what that does to that buyer? It removes all the friction. So if you represent that buyer, you're more than likely going to get an acceptance. An acceptance in this market right now is pretty good.
I appreciate you
one
sharing
other
that.
thing is one main thing is to just dumb everything down. Pretend as if you have to teach it to a kid, and that way you'll know it well enough to explain it and dumb it down, so that way you're not complicating it for the client.
Again, just like how you don't share you don't express your concerns or your opinions on the condition, quality, everything about the home. You don't even freaking say, oh, this is a fantastic neighborhood. There's a whole bunch of kids around. Well, what if I don't like kids? Right? If you're like, oh, well, this is a great place because there's parks nearby. I'm like, parks equal parties. Parties piss me off. No, thank you. Right? You don't know what they want, what they like, unless they're your best friend. Then you can, potentially know a little bit more. But if they're just a person that's a lead that you've gotten, you don't know. So don't do that. Same thing goes with lending, right? Don't just assume that they want a 3-1 buy down. Don't assume that they're going to need $15,000 in closing costs, or they want $15,000 in closing costs. At least in my opinion, anyone that is, all the strategies are different, right? Like I can be like, listen, I know that I don't want to buy down. What I want is $30,000 off the price of the home, because I know that in 2 years, I might be paying a little bit more than I want to this moment. However, in the next little bit, in 2 years from now, a year from now, we're going to go from 7.5 down to 5, and then I'll just refinance. Can I afford that 7.5% interest rate? I can. If I can't, then obviously I'm not going to buy the home. If I can afford it, then I might choose to do that and get a lesser price, because I know in a couple of years or in a year, I could refinance. Again, that's one option. That's what I personally would do. But I'm not going to give that as the end all be all option, right? There's plenty of ways in which people can buy property. There's, you might see seller financing come into play. There are more than 50% of all homeowners in the United States do not have a mortgage on their property, right? I don't know if you guys knew that or not. More than 50% do not have a mortgage on their home. They want to sell. They might choose to do a rent or a carry note. right? They say, hey, if you put down $200,000 on this, $600,000 house, I'll carry a note for 5% on that 400,000. Sure. They're in first deed, they're in first place, the first lien of the people default for whatever reason, they get the property back. And so there's so many different ways in which it can be structured in this market. And if anything I said to you was new information to you, then that means that you don't know. And that means that you need to educate yourself, right? Again, I know that you guys all, I've said this before yesterday. I'll say it again. I've got a good friend named Google. And if you ask him anything, he'll tell you the answer, right? So ask him anything, right? Write it down. How do I do this? And then you'll see videos and articles, everything else. I'll explain to you exactly what you need to do. Exactly what you need to do. What is a 3-1 buy down? Don't don't try to go and find out. Be resourceful. And I promise you, if you do, you'll be able to get those answers you're looking for. Anyway, so to summarize, because I want to respect everyone's time. Those 5 things are ways in which you can close deals in this market that we're in today, right? Be fanatical about knowing how to ask deeper questions. In fact, if anything, if you can just focus on that, go diving in deeper. Think about this, you guys. Think of the friends that you have superficial relationships with, where it's all you guys just talk about is sports or, the weather or, hey, how's it going? And that's it. Like, how deep is that relationship? It's super superficial, right? It's shallow. Imagine that your best friend that you share everything with, and they know everything about you. How's that relationship? Who do you trust more? And so be that person that goes deeper, right? Become friends with those people that you're doing business with. And if you don't like them and they don't like you, then don't freaking do business with them. You got me? Like, you got to find your tribe. Don't be afraid to be who you are, right? There's a guy that used to work for us, and he was married to a man, but like nobody knew that he was gay. Nobody knew anything about him and his lifestyle. He was deathly afraid to be able to share that information with people because he thought that once they knew, then they would no longer like him. But guess what happened? Because he was so secretive and didn't share anything, no one knew anything about him. Right? Just like how we're like, oh, well, I'll work with anybody. No. When you put stuff on social media, there's people that are going to not like you. Right? There's people that are going to look at your face and be like, dude, that person's freaking ugly. Like, I don't like looking at them. Or their voice. Holy shit, I can't stand that voice. Like, so high pitched or whatever, monotone. Like, people are either going to like you or not like you, and that's completely fine. It's your job is to talk to as many people as you possibly can every single day, and making sure that your skills are honed so you can be the best salesperson for the job, or best salesperson to be able to get them to be able to make that move. Because I bet you that there's, in this room right here, if we call it a room, digital space, every single one of us, including myself, has gotten in the way of a transaction. We have stopped a transaction because we interjected our ego or whatever the hell it was to stop a deal from happening. Okay. So I invite you guys to get out of that. Stop. Don't be the point of friction in your clients buying a home. When someone asks you, hey, how's the market? Please don't have that knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, the market's fantastic, or the market is awful. No one's buying. Like, do not ask that question, or do not say that until you find out why they asked you, how's the market? Right? If I am a seller and I come up to you and I say, hey, so you're a realtor, how's the market? And you're like, oh my gosh, homes are sitting on the market forever. No buyers are buying, it's just, it's awful. I'm like, oh shoot. Okay, well, I guess I should either wait, or I think that you're not gonna be confident that you can sell my house. I'm gonna go find somebody else. If a buyer asks, hey, how's the market? Right? The best question to ask is, it all depends. Right? Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? It all depends. And then if they tell you, I'm looking to buy, then you can go ahead and say, tell me more about that. What are you looking to buy? Where are you at now? Are you part of a lease? Are you renting? Do you currently own a home? What's the motivation for the move? What lifestyle change has happened for you, has caused you to make a move? People only move when there's a lifestyle change. They get a new job, they get fired from a job, they get a divorce, they get married, they have kids, they have more kids, they have dogs, like they get a job transfer, they move out of the area. Like there's so many things that happen, and those things are not dependent on the market, right? If I'm getting a divorce, I got to sell my house. I got to sell my house. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. I'm moving. I'm super motivated to do that. If I get a job in a different state, different country, whatever, like I'm going to move independent of what's happening with the market right now. If I need to go buy, if let's say I got a job in Montana, I'm moving to Montana, I'm going to go buy a home there. I don't want to rent. And so I'm going to suck it up and pay that higher interest rate, right? Because I know it's not temporary, or it's just temporary. Anyway, okay. So I encourage you guys to, first of all, be super excited about life. Be excited about what you have and the potential that we have to live in this beautiful country, to be able to have the freedoms that we have, the freedom of speech, and go out there, make a difference, let people know who you are. Don't be a secret agent. Get deeper, ask those questions, have them rank the property, and then close the deal every single time you possibly can. All right, any other thoughts, questions, concerns before we wrap up or we close? No, you guys are all just in awe right now. All right, I'm going to invite you guys moving forward. If you're part of this Zoom call, which we appreciate you being here, please turn your cameras on and mute yourself. Like it's just so much nicer to be able to see people's faces instead of seeing like a whole bunch of black screens and things like that. So anyway, so I don't know. Andy said something here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Please remember that you can invite any agent that independent of what company they're with, to come join us at this meeting. And we are going to bring as much value every single Thursday to you guys, come rain or shine, and it's going to be awesome. So appreciate you guys being here. All right.
Thank you.